Story 1. 24-hour stores or anywhere catering to insomniacs. I miss doing random shopping at 2 a.m. I don't like running errands while everyone else is running errands, and I have trouble sleeping, so shopping at night felt more relaxing. The only place open 24 hours these days is Waffle House. Also, video stores in general. I love the convenience of streaming, but nothing compares to the feeling of going out late on a Friday night, trying to pick something to watch with some snacks, and potentially finding a hidden gem. Accidentally memorizing all the trailers before my favorite VHS 2, plus the intimacy of recording something for a friend on a blank or a used tape. And box art used to be so enticing. As a kid, I'd stare at all the horror movie covers knowing I'd never have the courage to rent one. Story 2. Kids playing outside instead of being cooped up in front of screens. Reusing, repairing, upcycling, donating, and swapping items rather than just throwing perfectly good stuff away. Story 3. Neighborhood kids playing together around the neighborhood. Everybody is so afraid of everybody, and while I definitely know bad things can happen, we aren't supposed to let the fear win. When I was growing up, all the kids on the block would get together and play hide and seek or flag tag or just mess around in the creek nearby. It was a great way to meet new kids. All the different parents and people living on the block would give us snacks or let us play in their yard. Now there's a fear of someone getting shot just for doing a U-turn in a driveway. The American dream wasn't supposed to be a suburban prison. It was supposed to be togetherness and unity with our neighbor. I'm not sure how we get it back, but we need it. Story 4. The older style of film scoring with memorable Wagnerian leitmotifs that are expertly developed over the course of the picture. Jerry Goldsmith, Miklos Rasha, Elmer Bernstein, Franz Waxman, Alex North, Alfred Newman, and so on. Story 5. It used to be that if someone was having car problems, people in surrounding cars would jump out and help push that car off to the side of the road, even if it was on the freeway. Nowadays, people just drive around the stalled car, and it remains a bigger problem for longer. Story 6. Kids doing normal things like riding bikes, skateboarding, and staying out until the streetlights come on. It's amazing how many kids haven't learned how to ride a bike. Story 7. Dresses. Long, flowy dresses with infinite variation. Ladies, please wear dresses again. You all look so elegant and classy when you do, and I mean it has to be more comfortable in summer anyway. Story 8. Pizza and LAN nights with sleepovers, especially for adults. I would love to get a few friends together, play some old Halo or Call of Duty Zombies with pizza, and just hang out and enjoy ourselves. Story 9. I would love to see people go back to minding their business. Someone else wearing a mask does not hurt you. A yard sign does not hurt you. Someone not being cisgender heterosexual does not hurt you. If you cannot say anything nice, stay home and cry by yourself. Story 10. Families actually spending time with each other without using their phones. I love when it would be the end of the day, we would all be home from school and work, and we would have dinner together. A small thing that gave me so many wonderful memories. Story 11. I would love to see more casual hangouts like the 90s coffee house scene. Just imagine hanging out with friends over coffee, playing board games, or listening to live acoustic music. It feels way more authentic than just scrolling through social media. Story 12. Politicians who want to provide solutions to people's real problems, not consistently manipulate some manufactured social issue for their own benefit. Both sides are guilty of this. Story 13. Not believing in idiotic conspiracy theories so stupid that your average 3-year-old wouldn't fall for them. And stop electing those who believe in them to Congress. Story 14. Pegged tight-rolled pants. Just to see the kids' reaction now to that 1980s trend. If nothing else, it helps stop the bicycle motocross chain from chewing your jeans up, at least. Story 15. Christmas cards. I'm only in my early 30s, and this is something that was in full swing and has totally died off just in my memory. When I was young, my parents taped all the cards we received to the door frame of my living room. The whole thing would be lined. Some of my parents' friends even sent me my own card in addition to the one addressed to my parents. Cherished memories that make me a little sad to think about. Story 16. Planning ahead, including contingency options, and endeavoring to adhere to the agreed plan. Nowadays, people rely on the fact that they can always call or text each other, so arrangements get made on the fly, and too often things go poorly. Story 17. Not getting the news until whatever happened was long past. Instant and developing news is so stressful. Just let me read about it next week when all the facts are in. I can't do anything about it either way. Story 18. Remember before cell phones when you weren't accessible 24/7? So people didn't expect you to be available 24/7, and they wouldn't get mad at you for not answering your phone or taking more than 10 minutes to return a message. Story 19. Formal hats as part of an outfit. I've always loved the style of fedoras and flat caps, but you can hardly wear one these days without people thinking you're an involuntary celibate. Story 20. People are worried about getting punched in the face if they disrespect someone else. I feel like that would resolve much of the nonsense we deal with now. Story 21. Minding your own business in public. No pranks for YouTube, no having entire conversations on speakerphone, and no blasting your music without headphones. Story 22. Politics becoming boring again. Cooperation between the parties on bills that will make life easier for the people who elected them to office. Country before party. Basically the exact opposite of what goes on today. I know it's never going to happen, but Story 23. Good classy hats. I know the Tips Fedora meme isn't cool, but looking at old movies when a fedora or a trilby is worn with a suit just looks so good to me. Story 24. Being able to send my kids to the corner store without worrying about them being approached by a trafficker or run over by a distracted driver. Regular cell phones versus smartphones. I'm okay with social media for the most part, but didn't it seem much better when it was limited to a computer or laptop in your own home instead of in your back pocket every waking moment? Affordable living. Story 25. I would love to see the trend of handwritten letters make a comeback. There is something so personal and meaningful about taking the time to write a letter by hand, and getting one feel so special. It would be awesome to bring back that kind of connection in a world that is so digital now. Story 26. Actually expecting some modicum of decency from politicians, even if it's a bit feigned. Not giving people like Donald Trump a free pass to run their mouths. Story 27. Enlightenment. I feel like the planet would improve enormously if people took an epistemology course in high school and learned how truth claims work. It would improve intellectual integrity, media literacy, and dispel untold quantities of false information. Cognitive biases and logical fallacies abound, and billions of people being particularly bad at understanding and navigating is acutely felt. Especially here in the United States in our political discourse such as it is. Story 28. Using a guillotine to decapitate oligarchs and aristocrats. Really anyone who uses their outsized money and power to subjugate the people who do not have it, or to otherwise use them for their own selfish ends. Story 29. Getting dressed up to go out, especially at fine dining or cultural events like the symphony or the opera. People not being so openly racist. Critical thinking and debating skills. Being able to talk through thorny issues without all of the emotion and rhetoric, dialogue. Story 30. Manners. Common sense. Affordable housing for the working class. Decent music, rock and progressive. For people to have an attention span longer than a YouTube advertisement. Story 31. Truth in advertising. I read a book by one of the producers of the original Star Trek series, where he talked about having to lock a cake in a safe for a period of time. It might have been 1 to 3 weeks, I forget. They had to do this because the company that made the cake mix claimed it would still be fresh after the weeks ended. Imagine if all advertisements had to meet that level of truth in advertising. Story 32. As a film camera user, I love that we are still out here shooting on it, even when everything has gone digital. There is just something special about the whole process, from loading the film to the wait of seeing how the shots turned out. I cannot get enough of the raw, unpredictable feel of film. It is like every frame has its own vibe. Honestly, I cannot wait to see this whole film revival get bigger. Here is hoping it never goes away. Story 33. Rock music. At most of the rock concerts and festivals I've attended lately, I was among the youngest at 40. Most fans were 60 or older. That audience is dying out. I mean, there is a little resurgence with Baby Metal, Bring Me the Horizon, Bad Omens, and Sleep Token, but that is not typically rock, hard rock, or metal, and they are not exactly mainstream. Story 34. Having the decency to remove yourself from public life or the lives of those you've wronged. If you're exposed as a cheater, scumbag, or abuser, in essence, the forgotten art of leaving quietly. Story 35. Clear or translucent plastic covers over electronics. I had several things that were translucent purple as a kid, and it would be so great to have them as an adult, even if it was something silly like a toaster. Story 36. Hats. Why don't we get to wear cool hats? I hate modern fashion. It's so lazy and boring. But if you go out in a hat and dress, people think it's weird. Story 37. It is not really a trend, but something I wish would make a comeback is Blockbuster. It was and will always be better than Netflix. When Netflix first started with only a $7 monthly fee and no ads at all, it was cool. The movie selection in Canada was terrible for a long time, which is why it was so frustrating and heartbreaking when even Blockbuster Canada went under with the United States franchise. Netflix had awful options, and there was nowhere for us to watch movies other than new ones in cinemas. Eventually, the movie selection improved, and Netflix originals were getting started. Netflix could now satisfy the lack of movie rentals, but Blockbuster also had game rentals. Gamefly existed briefly, but its services were exclusive to America. Because, of course, it was. Now Gamefly is gone, and the entire concept of game rentals seems to be a thing of the past, along with free demos. Now you have only 2 hours to decide if you like a game. If it takes you 121 minutes to make a decision, you are out of luck. You own it and can never return it for a refund. And now, in the 2020s, companies are trying to declare physical media obsolete. What kind of idiotic idea is that? Physical games and movies will always be superior because you can loan them to your friends or trade and sell them. Story 38. Power chords, electric guitar, and amazing instrumentals. I miss power ballads and guitar riffs and 8-minute-long songs that had so much instrumentation it blew your mind. Story 39. Classic arcade and mall culture. It used to be a weekend event to hang out at the arcade, grab a bite at the food court, and just wander around with friends. Now everything is online, but nothing beats that in-person vibe. Story 40. Shopping malls in the United States. I was in Italy this summer and went to a mall. It was glorious. Every storefront was occupied, food court, lots of people. Felt like I traveled back in time to 2000. I wanted to scream, "Don't take this for granted. You'll miss it." Story 41. I wish more handwritten letters would come back. There is something so special about taking one's time and penmanship in writing a personal message onto a piece of paper. It is so much more intimate than a text or an email. Story 42. I wish couch co-op games were more common. Being able to play with my buddies states away is fun, but having 4 people on one couch, one console hits differently. Story 43. White tablecloth restaurants with coat check room. Reservations needed after 7 p.m. Owned by locals who run the place themselves. Getting to know their customers by name. Customers dressing nicely, behaving themselves and their children. Children should only be allowed on holidays like Easter, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, and only during daytime or lunch hours. No kids after 7 p.m. Get a babysitter. Have a bar where people can wait for their table. But no food at the bar, just drinks. If your table isn't ready in 20 minutes, compensate with a glass of wine or soda/sparkling water for those who don't drink alcohol. If someone consistently behaves poorly or doesn't tip waitstaff, they get banned. I used to work in one as a teen. I never had to worry about customer behavior because nobody wanted to be banned. Everybody knew the rules. Everybody was thrilled when the owners greeted them by name. If a child was screaming, the female owner would go over to the table and say, "The little girl or boy is uncomfortable. Maybe they would like to go outside for a walk or sit in the car for a little bit until they feel better. Is Papa here? He can take the child to the car until feeling better." Yes. She always tried to assign taking the child to the father because it was a way of saying, "You're the head of the family. Shouldn't you be getting this under control?" The fathers never tried to argue like the mothers might. It's a pipe dream, I know. Wish younger people knew what it was like back in the day when everyone had to behave and use their best manners. No phones, no video games. Just interacting with people in public and letting every adult enjoy it equally. Yes, it was expensive. That's why people only did it on special occasions and holidays. Story 44. I would love to see the return of flip phones. There was something so satisfying about ending a call with a dramatic flip or just messing around with it. Plus, the battery life was insane, and they were practically indestructible. Story 45. Videos shot in landscape mode. I would have thought by now that with all the lenses crammed onto modern mobile phones, one would be dedicated to horizontal while allowing you to hold the phone upright. Story 46. Lots of very sensible topics mentioned. I am a simple person and will go with pocket watches. I have an awesome Garmin fitness watch and would never go back to a regular watch, but having a pocket watch in that little pocket of the pants would be so awesome. Story 47. Cloche hats. I think they would look great with a peacoat, and just hats in general. I feel like beanies and baseball caps are the dwindled remains of an expansive hat culture. Story 48. Students respecting teachers. Teachers are not slave drivers or bosses. They chose to be there to help you build foundational knowledge, and the least you could do is show them respect. It's just not a thing for a lot of young people who haven't learned better. I don't believe in much tradition or glory days nostalgia, but I'm 33. Even when I was in high school, we respected teachers, even if we didn't like them. It's hard to watch sometimes.